I'm getting my tomato rolls ready. The rolls are made and ready to go, and I'm gonna use some of this black stuff here. I have a lot of jumpy grass problems, so I'll put this black stuff down as a mulch, and I'll do a row of this stuff here. Then my next row, I'm gonna do a row of bush beans. They're 40-something day crop, and they'll come up fast, and I will get them out for the market, and that row will be empty, and I can work it better. And on the third row, I'll do another row of tomatoes, and it's a skip row, kind of like the okra, a skip row type deal, and it just gives you more room to get in here with a tractor and work your tomatoes. So let's get to work. I'm putting down the second row of this black plastic to plant our tomatoes. We're using it as a mulch, and right now I'm just doing everything by hand. They do make machinery for this, large scale operations. Our rows are probably about 150 feet right here, so we're just doing it by hand. Just tucking the corners, throwing some clouds of dirt here and there, or just dirt to kind of weigh it down so that we can get our tomatoes in. Alright, I got my 2 rows down of this black material for our mulch, and what I've done skipped 2 rows and planted bush beans, crop that's going to mature in about 45 days. And once I get those beans out, well, then I'm going to just leave this where I can plow it, keep the grass out of it, and it's just to help maintain the grass in this area. We do have a grass problem with the jumps of grass here, as I said before. Sometimes I'll come back and I'll throw some chips on top of this stuff, or some grass or feed or something, just to keep it from getting so hot. Because here in Louisiana, our weather does get in the hundreds, pretty hot. It can get hot, but we usually mulch it. In the dirt you're seeing on top, I don't know how it shows on this camera. That's not hose, it's just dirt we threw on top to help hold the stuff down until we can get our plants on it. And then I'll do cages for sure on one row, and the other row I might do poles or whatever. And you might have to keep coming back every now and then and retucking it. Just mainly this year has been a very windy year. So that's mulching with black mulch for tomatoes. Next thing is to plant them, then cage them. I use these cages right here. I bought this roll of concrete wire probably 10 years ago. Still got them all stacked up along this fence. Probably about 10 years ago, and they're still doing the job. I don't remember what I had paid 10 years ago, but it was well worth it. You just take your wire and you cut them about 3 feet wide or long, and just make baskets out of them. It works pretty good with all this black stuff. Until we transplant, you'll be seeing it.
of the tomato plants that we started in the spring, we sprinkled a few seeds down inside this tub of dirt and just covered it with plastic and ran some water in it. And they grew like a little hothouse, a little pole frame. This is an old horse watering trough. You can use a swimming pool, an old bathtub, anything. Anything you want to use to start your plants in the yard. And then the tomato plants, you want to get them root and all so that you can transplant into your garden. It's a grass. Like that. This is called bare root because they're not in cups. You can do that with tomatoes, peppers, and stuff like that, but you can't do it with cucumbites because the cucumbites, if you disturb their roots, they'll die on you. So you can't do this with cucumbers. You can't do it with watermelons and stuff like that, but you can do it with the tomatoes, the peppers, the broccoli, cauliflower, and stuff like that. They'll transfer easily. Just a little bit of water. They come out of the root shock and you can plant them. Shake them apart when you're in the garden. It's better to transplant. This is the plastic that we previously did a few days ago. And the post, the metal post, and the string that holds up the tomato cages. Now this was made out of regular fence. There's a 3-foot length of fence. We cut it and rolled it together and tied it with its own wire. And then we use this for a tomato cage. These are the tomatoes that we already started. We're going to poke one little hole in the plastic here, dig down, and plant the tomato. Now the reason we use the cages, a lot of people will use just a stake and tie them to the stake. But the reason I like the cages is that you don't have to keep breaking off of it and tying the branches to keep them from falling. They just grow within the cage, and when you walk by, all you do is just pull the leaves back in as it grows and it gets taller and taller, and you just have tomatoes hanging on the inside of the leaves. And the leaves get so bushy to where it keeps the sun from scalding your tomatoes. And it works pretty well. It's a lot easier to maintain. So I'm going to poke a hole inside each one of these cages and plant a tomato. And the reason we have them tied so well is because Louisiana is well known in the summertime when the tomatoes are starting to get ripe, hurricane season. And they will blow your tomatoes over, and so everything is well tied down so that we don't lose them during hurricane season.